Okay, so this is a second part to that diminished chord shapes and arpeggios. I'm going to probably put a link to that first video in a pinned comment. So if you've not seen that, please go and watch it first. And this is basically a short video to give some examples, or like to standard situation where you can find diminished chords and arpeggios. And then at the end, I will put a quick trick where you can really use those shapes, especially that's a chord melody thing, to create like Wes Montgomery style chord melody, or George Benson, that kind of stuff. But he said it's a trick that he used so often that it's quite useful. So I would say the first scenario where we find a diminished chord is when we play a blues. Let's say a blues is in C, and then we go to the 4 at some point, and then F sharp diminished back to the 1. So we'll have 1, 4, sharp 4 diminished back to 1, or 1 with that's a bit more gospel where the bass raises up to the 5. So it's be C7 over G. Okay, so in this case, this is the classic example, because really there's a very common substitution of dominant chords is to raise the root and turn that into a dominant flat 9 kind of thing. Okay, so the first thing I usually do, apart from obviously playing, I want to start to associate some points of contacts because this is going to be quite handy later on, some points of contacts visually to where if I play a dominant chord, I can already see where the diminished arpeggio is. Okay, so obviously the first point of contact is going to be the flat 9, so F sharp, then the major 3rd, the 5th, flat 7, and then again flat 9, 3rd, 5th, okay, and so on. So those notes are the point of contact if I'm thinking of F7. And then the important thing is to be able to resolve it. Okay, so the three things are thinking of the point of contact compared to the dominant chord, and then a landing. Some people call it a target note. So let's say I can visualize where C7 is, okay, depending on where the 1 of the next bar is, okay, so I land on that. Okay, so because obviously I'm always trying to connect chords, I'm not trying to think, as much as people want to connect chord scales individually. So I have a chord and that's the scale, I have a chord and that's the phrase. What I'm trying to do when I'm playing is to connect things. Okay, so I want to try and connect chords one to the other. Not 99% of the time, not 100% of the time, but most situations that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm trying to connect F7 to F diminished to C. Okay. So I'm going to record myself, and I'm literally just going to play a bar of each chord. Obviously, I'll add an extra bar there of C. Okay. Here we go. So the second scenario that I wanted to talk about is when I have, let's say, like a first, second, and third chord of a, in a key. Let's just take C again. So we'll have C major 7, D minor 7, and E minor 7. And usually these chords are interpolated, they're intertwined with a diminished chord. And it happens in slightly different ways if I'm going up or down. So let's say if I'm going, this is a class I got rhythm. But again, this is very, very common stuff. So C major 7, C sharp diminished, D minor 7, D sharp diminished, and then E. Okay. And basically, as I was saying earlier, because most times these diminished chords are just hiding a 5-1, a secondary dominant. This is what happens really. This is another one of those cases because it would be C major 7, A7, D minor 7, B7, E minor. Okay, and instead of A7, I said earlier on that one of the point of contacts is the third. Okay, so instead of A7, I put C sharp diminished. Okay, so and the result of that, and instead of B7, I put D sharp diminished. So it's the same chord. Okay. Okay, so same thing here. I have to work out point of contact, and as I said earlier, let's say if I think of A7, that's the flat 9, flat 7, 5th major 3rd. Okay, so I can kind of look ahead a little bit and think A7 to D instead of playing, which is there's nothing wrong with playing just the arpeggio, C sharp diminished arpeggio. Okay, so same thing for E. I can think B7 and think of those points of contact. Okay, so I'm going to record myself and I'm going to play 1 bar each. Okay. Sometimes I will have a descending scenario where I have E minor, so the 3. Then I will have the diminished chord, E flat diminished, and then we'll have D. So again, I try to, rather than think of every single root, I try to visualize the progression in 2 chords at a time. So we'll see this D minor as a target chord, and see that E flat, which is basically the C E flat F sharp family A family. So I can see that. I can see that overlapped to the D minor. Okay, so I try to visualize the target and like overlap the diminished chords to the minor shape, so to speak. This is very practical because obviously when I want to play, I want to play more by ear or visually. I don't want to think too much about chords. Well, I can think of the chord progression as a general, in general milestones, or we are here, we're at the top of the bridge or whatever, but I just want to be able to just play. Okay, so this is the chord melody thing I was wanting to explain earlier on. Okay, so this is the chord melody thing I talked about earlier on, and basically this is a big band arranging kind of trick, and the trick is to alternate a diminished chord to a major or minor chord. and its own inversions. So let's say it's like if you did like, A7 flat 9 to D, A7 flat 9 to D, but each time it's an inversion. Okay, so let's say we want to use D minor again. So I will alternate C sharp diminished, and we know that C sharp is C sharp, E, G, and B flat. So it's that family of diminished chords, and I will alternate it to a D minor or a D minor inversion. Okay, so C sharp, D minor 7, E, D minor 7 with F on the bass, G diminished, D minor 7 with G on the bass, with A on the bass, sorry. And I will have B flat diminished. This is another inversion of D minor, C sharp diminished, then D minor 7, and then we start again. And this is very common. Like if you listen to Wes Montgomery, he was using this this trick, so to speak, Okay, and that's just the basic idea. If you create melodies within that, so I'll make a bass line like a simple bass line in D minor. And so on. So that's the basic idea. Okay, you can do it with major as well. If I replace D minor with D major, it works the same. Okay, so you can then create some melodies with that. Okay, I hope that helped. Subscribe and share and all as always. Take care.